On today's Breaking Views, we look at one story, the battle between Ireland and the European Central Bank over how Dublin repays some of its state aid debt, the so-called promissory notes saga. I'm joined now by Pierre Bronson. He's European editor at Breaking Views. Well, Pierre, just very briefly, for those who aren't aware of this story, it's quite technical, but it's hugely important from a political and economic and financial point of view. Just outline where we are here.
The whole question is how does the Eurozone help Ireland out of the huge costs it agreed to take on during its bank bailout a few years back. At the time, there was a peculiar financial instrument that was used by the Irish government to help Anglo-Irish recapitalize itself, which was a promissory note. The government promised to give money it actually didn't have. It has to pay by installment until 2023, around more than 3 billion a year at a fixed date.
Last year, it's coming
that's coming soon. It was fudged last year with the issuing of a long-term 13-year bond by the Irish government. This time, both sides, I'm talking about the Eurozone in general, ECB, Eurozone governments, and the Irish government and the Irish Central Bank are trying to come to terms and find a way to relieve Ireland from its incredible cost, which I mean is costing around 1% of GDP in terms of budget deficit, which is a lot for a country that has done a lot, that is recovering, that has made tremendous progress towards getting out of its mess.
And this is the thing, as you say, Ireland has done all that's been asked of it. It's, if you like, the poster child for austerity, etc. So why won't the ECB relax in this case?
Well, the ECB doesn't want to relax because it is very strict on seeing to it and watching that central banks don't finance governments directly. And what the Irish government was asking, alongside with the Irish Central Bank, was in effect some kind of direct monetary financing of its future liabilities. This was unacceptable by the ECB. It has to be put in the context of a general bargaining that has started with everyone expecting that by March an agreement will have to be reached. So the Irish side is pushing the limit, trying to test what the ECB would agree to do. And of course, the ECB is sending the signal that some things are acceptable or some things are not. This was the first salvo. There will be many other ones. We've
spoken to Enda Kenny, we've spoken to Jean-Claude Trichet about this. As I said earlier, it's a very emotive issue. When it comes down to it, though, a fight between anybody against the European Central Bank, there's only going to be one winner, and it's going to be the European Central Bank, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Well, not necessarily. This European Central Bank is able to make concessions to forget its strict doctrine.
It's very wary of, as you say, of setting precedents.
It has done so in many cases. In the case of Ireland, first of all, the pressure isn't there so much, because you remember the Irish yields have come down tremendously. They're from 14% on 10-year to 4%, barely more than 4% currently. Ireland is funding itself cheaper than Italy on 3-year maturities, which everyone has forgotten. And the Irish government is really, leading a recovery. So everyone wants to help the Irish. The Irish on their side are saying the amount of the bailout and the way we had to proceed with the bailout was because the ECB prevented us from hitting the bank's bondholders. And so we had to make a sacrifice, and we're paying for that now. The ECB has to be a little more flexible on its immutable doctrine of non-monetary financing. I'm convinced a deal will be reached, but again, you're going to see a lot of back and forth with each side testing each other.
We've got 2 months to go, and very, very quickly, finally, if a deal is reached and the ECB is deemed to relax or back down in its position, will other countries that have sought aid and received aid, will they start to think, hold on a second, we'd like our terms renegotiated too?
Well, in the case of Ireland, as in the case of Spain, you're talking about two countries where the fiscal deficit was not the problem before the crisis. Those two countries suffered from a bank crisis. It has been dealt with in Spain, and it has been dealt with, but with the old ways and very early on by Ireland, and that's how to get out of it. That's what we're going to witness now.
Okay, I'm sure we'll have you back on to talk about this in the next few weeks. Pierre, thank you very much. That was Breaking Views, Pierre Bronson. And for more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.